Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Daily Deer for today, February 4th. Today, we've got a great little quote that is a big deal, especially when you hear things coming down the pipe for your state or for our country or just hunting in general. But the quote says, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." And that is by Robert Swan. That's just a great little piece to think about as you hear about legislation or things happening in other states as far as anything regarding the outdoors or public lands or just anything in general that you may find yourself concerned with, is that never leave it to someone else to decide the fate on it, and do what you can, whatever you have the power to do. Take action and make that action yours. Try to spread the good word and make a difference. Don't let somebody else pick the fight and fight the good fight for you. As many hands on the handle can get the work done faster. So that's what we want to do. I think about that quote as it comes to our public lands here, especially in Wisconsin. Whatever we can do to contact legislators, congressmen, congresswomen, and get things set the way that we think they ought to be. So nice little quote there by Robert Swan. But our topic, as we get into February here, is one that I am always have been enthralled with, which is shed antlers. So today we're talking shed hunting. With February coming in, that is the month in which most whitetail deer across the upper Midwest, and for the most part, a lot of the northern part of the United States, are going to be shedding their antlers. There will always be some that shed early, some that hold well into March, sometimes even April. I've seen deer with antlers, but the majority of deer are going to be letting go of those wonderful treasures and leaving them for for us to walk around and find, like our little Easter egg hunt. So with February coming on, lots of people are getting excited. You probably noticed on social media. Mine personally is filled up with shed hunting groups and posts. So I've been seeing lots of antlers lately, and I've been out and lucky enough myself to find 3 fresh sheds this year. And along with that comes the finding of dead deer also. So as far as shed hunting goes, a lot of people kind of, in the past have questioned the reasoning for doing it. Why not spend that time just scouting for your spots for the upcoming season? But shed hunting is just a really enjoyable pastime, even for non-hunters. It's something you can do with your family, your significant other, nephews, nieces. Take them out. It's like going on a nice little nature hike. You don't have to be super concerned with if you hit this spot or that spot. Just get out there and do some walking. You can always get lucky and stumble into one. But if it's something that you want to take a little bit more serious, obviously there are techniques and tips that you can follow that are going to put you hopefully in line with more success. But that does go to say that you never know where they're going to drop an antler. We've found one in the yard before. My wife found one in flip-flops walking through the backyard, a little spike antler. And of course, some of them are tucked back into the hidey holes deep into the woods. But really, it can tell you as much or as little as you want to think about it. Shed hunting for me and my family has become a really invaluable tool. We're scouting. We're looking at areas in the woods that we wouldn't typically scout because we're specifically looking for antlers. And once you find antler or find sign, you can learn a lot about your deer herd and specific deer that you'll be hunting, which is pretty cool. So first off, if you're looking to get started shed hunting, you just need to focus your time on where you think deer may have been during the winter months. Obviously, rut sign, rubs, scrapes, all that good stuff is going to be eye-catching. It's going to draw you to it. But if the deer aren't in that area in December and January and February when they're dropping their antlers, doesn't matter how much rut sign is there, the antlers will not be there. Unless you're lucky enough to stumble into an old one from years before. And an example I could give you where that is misleading is, say you have a nice little oak flat that you stumble into. And in the fall, maybe there was a heavy drop of white oaks or red oaks, and those acorns were scattered about, and the deer were just hitting them hard in October into November. And with all those deer in there, there are rubs and scrapes everywhere. If those acorns were eaten up by the beginning of December, the deer were not going to be wintering there. There's not going to be a food source there to sustain a number of deer throughout the winter. So those deer have likely moved off to a different food source. So you come walking in there in March, you see all this wonderful sign, and that's, I think, where most shed hunters get a little bit discouraged is, man, you walk the spot, looks so good, there was sign everywhere, but the deer were not there in the winter months. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for new shed hunters is putting in the time to find out where the deer are during that critical shedding time. So that's one thing, that if you're coming across lots and lots of droppings, that's always a good sign. In the winter, deer eating woody browse, the deer are much more congregated and kind of usually herded up a little bit, even in areas where it doesn't snow a lot. The doe groups, and especially bachelor groups of bucks, will kind of stick together a little bit more than normal. Their ranges are not nearly as big. They're bedding very close to whatever food source they prefer that time of year. So if you get into areas that have high concentrations of droppings, you're in the right spot. You can usually tell if there are acorns on the ground, the oak leaves will actually look all churned up, and sometimes they'll even look chopped up. I've been into a couple oak flats that if you get a little bit of snow, or kind of like a freezing drizzle early in the winter, and the leaves kind of get stuck to the ground, the deer coming back and forth to continually feed on acorns will actually chop the leaves up. It almost looks like confetti, oak leaf confetti. If you find a spot that's got that, spend some time looking around there. So putting yourself in the right spot where deer spent their winter time, and then training your eyeball. Sometimes these things stand out like a sore thumb. If you find them the right way, tines up, and you're walking in this direction, these things stand out like crazy. The curve of the beam, the tines tend to look a little bit like sticks, but if you see that curve or that unusual texture, antlers are obviously slightly polished and hard, so it's a different texture than the sticks and dirt that you're used to seeing in the woods. But if you walk up to a shed that's facing you, or similar in color, or on the other side of a log turned tines down, it can be very challenging to see these things. The big ones are the easy ones to find. It's the little guys that take a trained shed hunting eye to find. So what you can do is look at as many photos of as it lay sheds as you possibly can. I remember being in high school and looking at an old website called, oh gosh, what was it called? MinnesotaBucks.com, I believe. And it was just a gentleman who did a lot of shed hunting, and he would just post all the whole site was as it lay sheds in their natural spot where he found them. And I would just look and look and look and study. And the more times you can pick out the antler, the better. And you get out into the woods and you start trying to pick them out. You're going to want to slow way down, slower speed than you would when you were scouting. And number one thing is always look behind you. Just the difference in angle, the difference in lighting can make a huge difference. Walking on sunny days with harsh shadows, very difficult to spot sheds. Anytime you can go on an overcast day or a rainy day. It's tough to motivate yourself to get out there on a cold, rainy day, but there is no better time to find a shed than when all the leaves and grass are matted down and dark brown from the rain, and you got nice bright white tines sticking up. It'll increase your odds tremendously. So those are a couple things you can do. South-facing slopes, lots of people talk about that. I haven't particularly found that to be always true. The sheds seem to be wherever, but wherever the most sunlight is hitting, especially if you're in an area that has lots of snow, those slopes will melt out and the deer will be able to browse there better. So definitely good spots to check out. But just walk your area. It'll take you to different spots that you didn't think about walking, and it's a really fun pastime. And you get good at it, and you're going to start building up history with particular deer, knowing where they like to shed. Some deer drop both their antlers at the same time, same day. Some deer, year after year, will drop their antlers one week and one 2 weeks later. It's kind of interesting, kind of crazy, but that's just how they're wired, how they're built. So that's just a quick little intro to some shed hunting, some basic ideas. Later this month, we're going to go through a few more tactics, tips, and things you can gain from shed hunting. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great week. Bye.